This is the third WIMBA Wednesday session, and we are back online. This week we're covering tests and developing online tests in Blackboard. The session will be recorded, and I am going through the introduction, and then I'm going to turn it over to Diane Carnes, who's going to take you through tests. Going through last week on Safe Assign, there were a couple of questions that I'm going to answer today. The first one, I've tried to use the direct submit, but every time I do, it gives me a message that says I need to log into Blackboard. What did I do, and how do I resolve it? Well, usually when you get this message, you need to go in and synchronize your Safe Assignments. To do this, you go to Control Panel, Course Tools, Safe Assign, and then on the Safe Assign page, select Safe Assignments, view it, and then on the listing at the top right-hand corner, you will see a button that says Synchronize this course. Go ahead, click that button, synchronize the course links in the current course. It may take a second or two, and then try the direct submit again. If you still receive the error, contact eLearning. Send us an email at elearning@ltu.edu. Second question came in. Student says that they have submitted the Safe Assignment, but I don't see it in the Grade Center. Is there another way to check? Yes, there is. You can always see a complete listing of all the Safe Assignment projects you set up, as well as be able to view all the submissions for each one. To do this, again, go to Control Panel, Course Tools, Safe Assign. On the Safe Assign page, select the Safe Assignment project. Click the chevron to the right of the project name, and then select View Submissions. Just as a side note, you can also download all the submissions from this area as well. Last question that came in, and just thought about it, so I didn't have a chance to put it up on the question and answer sheet. If you have copied or imported any Safe Assignments from a previous course, please remember before you actually start that course to again go into the Safe Assignment area, Control Panel, Course Tools, Safe Assign, and always make sure you click the Synchronize this course button to reconnect all the links from for all your Safe Assignments. So that being said, I am done, and this week I am going to turn it over to Diane Carnes, who's going to take you through tests. So Diane, take it away.
Okay, in this session we're going to spend time looking at how do you develop and deploy a test in Blackboard. There's several other options that are on here also, but we're going to stay focused on this one. And first of all is why develop tests within your course? It gives the teacher opportunity and the student information that will allow you to improve student learning. So a test doesn't necessarily have to be just a quiz that was created, get the right answer. You can use that and then give them a grade. You can use that information to determine if you need to improve teaching material in the course also. And it helps with the selection decisions for educational options. At the beginning of the course, you can set up a pre-test, and then your post-test that you can use for assessment. Also with that pre-test, you can identify weak areas that the students may have that you'll want to help them with additional material, and also providing accountability at a number of levels. So if, for example, in our online classes, we recommend for some of the core courses to set up weekly short quizzes, and it helps the students stay engaged into the course. Okay, so our agenda today will include how to build a test online, and then how to deploy that test, and also looking at your Grade Center. And there's WIMBA training material available for you for using the Grade Center to look at the test. And future training will cover the surveys and pools. So where do you start? First thing you want to do is confirm the source for your test. Rather than jumping right into Blackboard and trying to build this, where is the source material coming from? Many of the publishers of your textbook provide material with preset tests, pools, and you can obtain that information and load that into your course. You can also create a brand new test. If it's a course that is new, you haven't taught before, there isn't publisher material, you can create all of your test items right in Blackboard And there are methods, which we won't cover today specifically. There are methods to build the test using a coded Excel sheet and then another piece of software that we have where you can bring those into the course. And so once you've identified your sourcing material, which ones you're going to add into the course, you can start building the test material. So that's where so now what? Now that I identified everything that I need, how do I get started? We're going to take a look at an example first with using the publisher's text material. That material can come right from the publisher's direct site. You can download a zipped file. It may be on a CD that's given to you, and there's a piece of software that you use. I'm going to pause for a second and share my computer. What I'm sharing with you is on my desktop examples of software loads that come with your publishers and the CDs. So for example, you see that I received a publisher's CD. I loaded the software onto my computer, and what they provided to me was ExamView software. So I can create a test, and that's what I did here. I went into the ExamView, the publisher's information. I selected my test material. I said it was new, and I went through the wizard, and they have steps that says, do you want Chapter 1? Do you want everything? I'm going to create the test for you. You could, at this point, print that and administer it paper-based, or what you want to do is do a file export, and you pick the version which is for Blackboard, and that will create you a file. Now I'm going to demonstrate to you with that file that you've stored on your computer, you will bring that into Blackboard. So in Blackboard, the steps that you want to use, everyone that is an instructor, teaching assistant in the course, has access to the course management control panel information. From there, you're going to select the tests, surveys, and pools. All of these options work exactly the same for tests, surveys, or pools. It's the source of the material that you're working with that varies. We're going to take a look at tests. And so with that file that you created from the publisher, it's an export file, you're going to import that file. And then you'll browse your computer. You'll identify where that file is located that you saved from the publisher. You select that file, and then once you've identified it, you would click Submit, and it would load into your course. Once it's loaded, you now have access to all of those tests that you've created, or that you've obtained from the publisher and loaded into your course. From there, you can now edit if you choose to. Take a look at everything that's loaded in there. So there were 10 questions that were created and loaded. I can change my points on the test at this time. I can edit that question if I choose to. So maybe some of the wording, the text that you've used to describe the problems that you've chosen, you want to enhance the references, the text on that. You may want to identify maybe a page number that you want them to look at, or maybe the week that this information was covered. You can go in there and edit all of this information. You can also give it a title. So maybe there's a category that you want all the leadership type questions to be identified, all of the questions for math problems that they've had. You can identify those in that area also. So when you're grading, you can go back and take a look at how well they did in sections. If you're doing multiple choice, you can add in more questions if you choose to, and then you can select which one's going to be the right or the wrong answer. When your publisher gives you this material, they already identified what the right answer is for you. You do not have to do that. So with the publisher's material, you preload, everything is preset. All you're doing at this point is enhancing maybe the text that's on there. Any questions at this point? You can also edit the points for everything. So if you want all of the questions to have the exact same number of points, you can select all. You see all the check boxes are selected there. You can type in the number of points that you want, and you click Update. And you will see all the points change to 5, and then you will see the total points change to 50. Okay? So we'll exit out of this. Come back to our slide. So what we just reviewed is how to add textbook publisher material into your course. What we looked at was pulling in material that was added into our course, or either by a CD or Blackboard course cartridge. Support for each of these items can come from your department area, or you can call e-learning services to help you with identifying these sources and how to use the material that's been given to you. And then we bring those files into the course. What I have for you also is each of the screens that we touched within Blackboard and the steps that we're taking. They are outlined on the slide for you. So we had chosen tests, selected the test item we wanted to import, we identified the file, and once it was loaded, we see that it was in the course for us to work with. And then again, we looked at the test itself and worked with adding points and editing the question. Any questions? Okay. At this point, we're going to take a look at another method of adding questions for your test. This is brand new. You don't have publisher material. You don't have any preset questions that you've used in the past. You want to create this from scratch. We're going to use the exact same tools. We're going to select the test. We're going to select the test option, but we're going to do a build test at this point, and we're going to create questions. We'll use, I'll demonstrate that for you using Blackboard. What you want to do ahead of time, though, to prepare for this is have your questions mapped out. We recommend that you use a editor tool, not Word, Notepad. We recommend that you use an editor tool, Notepad, not using Word, for the reason that you're picking up additional HTML coding when you're using Word. With Notepad, it's a straight copy-paste, and you won't have to deal with extra spacing or odd things occurring with the text on there. So use Notepad to type out all your questions, identify what your answers are going to be, build that test manually first, and then we can copy and paste it into the course. Or if you choose to, copy and paste. You don't have to do it all at once. If you have 50 questions, you do 5 today, you can do another 5 tomorrow, and then when you're ready to deploy it, you can set it all up. So just to repeat the steps, we selected the test, the survey. We came up to select a test, and now we're going to build a test, brand new. You want to identify the name of your test so that you can identify it later from everything else that's listed from all the list of tests that are in the course. At this point in time, if you have all of the directions for your test, you can type those in. Otherwise, you have an opportunity to come back later and update that once you've built the test. So directions that you would want to place in here is when this is deployed online. Students, you have exactly 1 hour. The test will be deployed on a specific date. Once you start the test, you must complete the test. All of these types of directional lines will become clear to you once we've built this test, and I share with you the types of options that you have on doing that. So you've got a name in there, and you click Submit. From this screen, we're going to use the Create Questions. Future training, we will share with you the reuse of questions and upload questions, and that's part of the pool that we'll be working with. So right now, you can create questions, and there are various types of questions that can be created. You can mix these up as you choose. You can have maybe 5 fill in the blank, 1 essay. You can have multiple choice, yes, no questions. Whatever questions you want to set up here, whatever type, you can build into this course. You can vary the points on each question also. You can set it up so that it's self-graded. So the items where it's identified what the right answer is, it will self-grade for you. If you mix together essays and self-grading, like the yes, no's, true, the multiple choice, it will grade to the point that it can on the self-grading, and then an essay, you as the instructor would go in through the grade center and finish the grading by looking at the essay, adding those essays. So let's take a look at a yes, no, which would be our either or, and I click that on, and the screen will come up. I'm going to give a title to the question. I'm just going to type in yes or no, and then I will ask a question, did you attend training for building tests? in Blackboard. Okay? And you always have the opportunity again to go back and edit your test. And you can have the test display where it's horizontal or vertical. The standard is, that you see is typically vertical. And you can you can check yes or no. Or do you agree? Do you disagree? Is it right or wrong? Is it true, false? That's still your either or question. So I'm going to use the yes, no. And I want to identify what the right answer is. The right answer is going to be yes. Now, for this type of a question, you know, did they attend the training? Yes. So accountability is, yeah, they attended the training. This would help me with, as I'm moving forward, it would be a type of a question as I'm moving forward with additional instruction for surveys and pools. It's important that they had the test training first. If I see that half the class didn't have the test, I may have to go back and do some remedial training, some additional steps on there. So that helps me to see what's going on in the class and what the knowledge base is. And what I can also add in here, if they said no, I can type in a response I want them to receive after they've answered the question. And that's what the correct response feedback is. So if I see that they didn't select yes, I may type in here, it is recommended, I recommend you attend a future training session before completing this one. And I can edit on test for attending this one. Okay? So there'd be information given to them. If there isn't, that would be for the incorrect, and then you can put a correct one in there. Okay? If you have categories, topics, or levels of difficulty, you can add that in here also. We'll cover that in the future. We'll just do the basics right now. You could type in instructor's notes. Let's say you're building this test like we do in our online, Lawrence Tech University's online development of courses. What are some instructor's notes? Why is this question placed in here? Does it support maybe an assessment program that we have? Does it support the topic of leadership? So if in the future someone else goes to edit the test, they at least know why that question was there, and they'll understand if they should remove it or not. And we'll click Submit. So that question is now ready. And you'll see it listed out here. Now I can set it up so that it shows me the full view of the question also. Didn't need to hit that one. And then you can go back and you can still edit again if you choose to. Okay, you can change the order of the question. Yes, we have a question. Okay. Okay, so we had a question on can you insert pictures into the test? Yes, you can. And that's part of our settings that we're going to use on there and the type of the questions that you have. So in the beginning, if you know that you're going to be building images into your test, so for example, math questions, visuals where maybe in architecture you want them to identify a type of a building or the period of the building, you can place an image in there for them to look at. And those are the options that you want to set up ahead of time in there so that you can add content, just like we did you've seen in other options that Blackboard has that do you wish to add the content? You browse for the picture to add that in there. Okay? Does that answer your question? You're welcome. Good point on that one. What you can also do too, and these are advanced settings in your test, is that you can have files setting in here that you want the student to be accountable for. I'm going to give you a document as part of your test. So that's the first question. They answer, yes, I understand that I'm going to open up this document, I'm going to print it out, and I'm going to complete my responses. And I've already identified ahead of time, I understand how to get that back to you digitally. They will respond, and then they have they identify you have approximately 1 hour, so that's your time stamp of when they received it, and the second time stamp comes back when they submit that document. So there's multiple methods for building your test. So again, you'll want to check with e-learning services to help you with some of your course development on building your test. It's not always just black and white. Answer the question, mark it yes or no, or is it right or is it wrong, and then submit it back in. There's various opportunities for doing the questions. So you keep adding in the types of questions that you want. So I've got an either or here. Now I can come back and I can do a multiple choice question. And then my options would be on here. How many answers are there going to be? Are there going to be 4, 3, 2, 1? The lowest number that's set up on here is 4, but you can still have 2 or 3, and that's by removing one of the 4 that's already there. Okay, so you don't have to stick with that one. So you can type this is the right answer, and then mark it that it's the right one. Or you can mix it up and you can set it so that number 3 was the right answer instead. And then you would type in your question. All the text boxes work exactly the same. Same text box used. Okay, and you can enhance the colors, the pictures, and all of your text on here. So, and then you can actually add in links that maybe you want them to go out and look at something else. You can add a picture in this area also if you choose to with the copies and the paste, linking out to other files. Okay, I'm going to submit that one. Okay, so we're accumulating our questions. So let's assume we have about 10 questions in here, but I don't want them all to be 10 points. I want all of the true, false to be 5 points, and submit. And then I want this one maybe to be 15 points. Okay, is this an extra credit question? Is it one that I want to score them on the 10 questions, 10 points each, and they have an opportunity to get some extra credit on here also, so you can add additional points in there. The same thing that you would do in the classroom with paper-based. Just about everything, the majority of those items can also be simulated in an online environment. And again, you can update all of the points if you choose to. You can remove some of the questions if you choose to at a future point. So let's assume our test is all built now. You've typed in all of your questions. You're ready with the test. And what you see in my screen here is my test course with all of the additional questions, test banks that I've built out there. And the one that we're using today, I labeled it just test on here also. Excuse me, I labeled it new test 1116. So that's sitting here ready to be deployed. I now want to take this test and make it available to the students to complete it. This is where your additional test options come into play. So I'm going to choose, it's recommended that you have all your assignments, tests also in one location rather than burying them somewhere within maybe your course documents or your course information. So we recommend using the assignments location. And you're going to use the create assessment, which is the test. What you will see is a list of all of the tests that you've created out there. Now I have quite a few out there because this is my test course. But I'm going to look for the one that I just created today. And I titled it New Test 1116, so it's identifiable to me which one it is. If I had not created that test yet, I still have the opportunity to choose create and then have access to the exact same options that we just went through to develop the new test 1116. So I'm going to click on that title, and then I'm going to click submit. You have an option of clicking at the top or the bottom. They're both the same. You click submit. Now you're going to have that opportunity again to come back and update the description of this test, provide instruction to them. And to help you with that instruction, some of the options that you're going to look at, you can create the test in a new window. We recommend keeping it within the single window that you're in, the functioning area that they are in Blackboard. You always want to click on make this link available. That's when you're ready to deploy this test. A lot of times we get questions in e-learning at the help desk is they clicked no, and then they clicked on the options to display before and after. Those are not going to override the make link available. You have to have make link available when you're using these other options also. So I'm going to click make this link available. Do I want to add an announcement to the announcement page when this test is deployed and with the instruction for them? So I'll take that instruction and add it into the announcement window also. Do I want the student to have multiple attempts? This option helps you with, is this a quiz that says I want to understand their base knowledge. I'm going to let them try this 3 times, 2 times, and I'm going to take the best score, or at least acknowledge they attempted the test. So you may want to use the multiple attempts for this. If it's for an exam, say a midterm exam or an end-of-term exam, the recommendation is pretty much the same you have in the classroom. You hand out the document for someone to take the test, you have 1 attempt. That's it. And you don't get any extra attempts on there. If you choose to have number of attempts, you can place the number of attempts that you want in there. What will happen is the student will open the test, they may start it and not finish it, submit, or either just cancel out of it. That's 1 attempt. Then they can come back in and they can start it all over again. And that's their 2nd attempt. It will not be available to them again after they've completed that 2nd attempt. I'm going to turn that option off for now. I can do a forced completion. Forced completion means once you have opened the test student, you must complete it. You cannot exit the test and come back into it later. You must start and then take it all the way to the end, submit, and be done with it. Same thing simulated in the classroom. You've handed the student a piece of paper. You have 1 hour to complete. They can't go out, leave, and say, I'll come back tomorrow once I've studied for this, now that I see what the questions are, and come back and finish it. So that's a forced completion on there. Again, these are options you have to think about as you're setting up deployment of the test. You can also set a timer on here. You want the students to have access to this test for exactly 1 hour after they've opened it, once they've started it. So if I started my test at 2 o'clock p.m. because it's available, I have until 3 o'clock to finish it. For instructors, it's very important that you pay attention to is this option does not stop the student after 1 hour. What it does is it tracks for you the amount of time that the student took to finish that test. So as part of grading, you may want to go in there and say if the student worked on this for an hour and a half and your instructions were very clear, you have 1 hour and you will receive a markdown of 1 point or half a point for every 15 minutes you went over that. Very clear to them. That's instructions you want to set up. It's really not good to just surprise the student. Like, gotcha, so you went an hour and a half, I'm going to mark it down now. Make it very clear up front because it will not stop them. So you can set it for an hour. You can vary the time on there too. You can make it minutes that you just want them. Maybe it's a pop quiz time. All right, got 15 minutes, let's get these answers done. And you can do this in the classroom. So if the students have their computers, especially in the undergrad programs where they're issued laptops, you can start the class with a pop quiz, or they know to bring their laptops, and you can see the results at that time, and maybe vary your instruction, or depends on how you're going to group the students, maybe in teams that are going to be set up. You can preset it also, so at the beginning of the semester, you have a date that you want this quiz, test, exam released. You can set it up at the beginning of the year, and it will release at that time. So you can have a start date and time, an end date and time for that to be deployed. And the view for the student and the access will not show until that date is hit. And again, even though you've selected these, you still have to make this link available on here. If you choose to, you can password protect it. Some of the options and reasons people would use password protect it is you have a student that missed the test and they need to take it sometime in the future, and you only want just that student to see it. When you release a test, everybody can see it, but not everyone can get into it if you put a password on it. If you would like in your announcement and using the calendar functions within Blackboard, you can set a date up so it shows up on the calendar within Blackboard. You can also set it up so that you include this test in the grade center and the score calculation. So if you have that total column and then you're using that in the grade center, this will be calculated in there. You can also set it up so that you hide the results for this test completely from instructor in the grade center. You just want the student to, take the test on their own, see how they do, and, you just don't want any idea how they're doing in the class. That's not used that often, but there's purposes for that. Maybe with the Academic Achievement Center set up, they may use it in that area. In this area with the test feedback, when you're personally building the test, you can set up that the test is scored as they move along, or automatically scored when they're all done and submitted everything. They can see their submitted answer. If you've given a correct answer, they can also see correct answer. once you've fully graded this test and you have provided feedback to that student, you have an option as an instructor, even though the test may be automatically scored, you can go in and give additional feedback to the student, the same as if you had written on their paper after you received their test back. That will display to the student in their My Grades, and then also when they re-enter that test to take a look at it. When you use a publisher's test bank, they typically have all of the correct answers in there, so you can turn that off or on. I turn mine on for, especially for the essay questions, for the students in a quiz area. Okay. You can also set the test up so that the students see the questions all at once. The same as if you handed that paper out to them, there's 10 questions on there, they see the 10 questions. You can also choose to show them one at a time. Answer the question, move on to the next one. Answer the question, move on to the next one. They keep building versus looking at the last one and then coming back and trying to figure out the problem back ending into it. So you may want to build upon their knowledge as they keep going forward. And so one at a time you would prohibit backtracking. What you can do also is randomize the set of questions. This is only effective in this setting if you've given multiple attempts into the quiz. When you're building the test and before you release it, you can set it up so that everything is randomized. Okay? So again, when you're getting ready to build a test, you will want to think about these options and how they will work for the student. Once you've decided on all of that, then you can come back up, update your description, your instructions. Students, you have 1 hour. You will see the questions one at a time. You will not be allowed backtracking. That will help the students with setting how they are going to start taking this test and not think that there's something wrong with the way the test is deployed. So if you do one at a time, they're probably thinking, wait a minute, there's only one question. I don't quite understand how the screen is working. You've given them instruction on how that works. And again, with e-learning services, we deploy a lot and assist with deploying and building a lot of these tests. We can give you some preset dialogue that you might want to use in that area so not everybody's reinventing the wheel with the text to use in those areas. So the test is all set. We click Submit. Oh, I forgot I clicked on Password. I'm going to turn that off because I do not want to use that. I'm going to click Submit. And right now that test is now available to the students. So when the students log in, this is the view that they're going to see. The test is not available. Yeah, there was a date on it. Okay. What you see on here is that the test is not available. I had left on the option that says, do not release this test until November 16th, and today is the 16th, until 12:28 p.m., which should be happening soon because it's now 12:30. Okay, so the timer's off just a little bit. And then probably because I set it up prior to the release, so it's still working on that. Now, I see I've made a mistake. I didn't release it. I wanted to release today. So I can click on the chevron. I can edit the test options. So I can go back and I can turn that off because I want that test to be available now. As the instructor, you can go in and take a view of how this looks. It won't let you take the test and it won't score for you, but you can move forward and say, oh, I wonder how it's going to work for the student. Does it display the way that I expected it to? So you click on the title the same as the student would. It says click Begin. Okay, so my test is in there now, my question. Okay, and we can answer it, but it's going to tell me save and submit. That it's going to do this, but it tells me is that it's saved, it's submitted, it answered it for me, but myself as the instructor, it will not do anything to the Grade Center. It just simulated for me what that test looks like. So it's important once you've done that that you set that up that way. So we just looked at are the options for creating the test. So we've talked about two things so far. One is if you have the publisher's exported file that you're going to import in, and then the second one is if you want to create that test yourself. And same options on editing, building, mapping through those. We talked about how to deploy that test, how to make it available to the students now to create it, and again you want to pay attention to your options that you want to use. on there. We identify the area, we release the test in the assignment area. There are other areas and content areas within Blackboard that you can release those. We recommend, again, that you work within the assignment area. Easy location for the students to work with on doing this. So we covered the basics of creating a test, how to add test items into Blackboard. There are many more options to work with, and we'll have at least 2 to 3 more sessions to advance forward on doing this. So we recommend that you come with your tests, ready to start building them, or give eLearning Services a call, and we'll set these up for you. A lot of questions that we get, and a little bit of a Q&A time here, and one of the questions that we commonly get is, how do you manage a test in the classroom and now deliver this online? It's like, I used to do all of my tests in the classroom. Why the heck would I even want to use it online? Again, it could be a pop quiz. It could be getting the scoring done for you while they're studying in the classroom, same amount of time, but they're in front of you. Or maybe you want to test their knowledge on reading that they should have done outside of the classroom. And before they come in, you want them to understand some of the material and make sure that they read that text. And the only way they can complete that quiz is if they read the textbook. And so those are some other options that you may look at for doing this. And plus you can do your stats on how well the class as a whole had done on this. So I'll ask one more time if there's any questions. If you do find that you have questions later, you can call eLearning Services, and Marquita, when she facilitates these in the future, will make sure we get the questions answered. Thank you.
Well, Diane, thank you very, very much. And this is not the last session that Diane's going to be facilitating for us. We're going to, or she is, not we, but she's going to cover actually more of tests and pools and surveys. November 30th for Wimba Wednesday. Enjoy, and signing off for tests.